Hey guys, who remembers this game? Now this is Bushido Blade for the PlayStation, and it's an interesting game to talk about, because it's one of the few games that I can think of that focuses on sword combat with a realistic edge. Now this game was developed by a company called Lightweight, who are also responsible for Kengo Master of Bushido on the PlayStation 2. Now this game was published by Squaresoft, who after a collaboration are now better known as Square Enix. Armed combat. Now, sword fighting was nothing new to the PlayStation. We already had games like Battle Arena Toshinden and Soul Blade doing it, but this one was forced down a completely different route. Now, battles in this game are not decided by long combo strings, Kara throws, gauge cancels, EX meters, or anything like that. A fight in Bushido Blade can be decided with a single decisive strike, and off the top of my head, at least, I can't think of any other games like that on the system, bar perhaps its sequel, Bushido Blade 2. You will instantly notice the minimal approach to everything. I mean, look at this. There's no heads-up display, no nothing. There's no life bar, no timer. There's nothing here that you would expect to find in a normal fighting game. Now, a battle, as I said earlier, can be decided in a single strike, but this strike might not come for minutes on end whilst each opponent is trying to outsmart the other. There's no block button either, so it's not like Street Fighter where holding back blocks an attack. Nor is it like Tekken where pushing, well, nothing makes you block. In this game, circle lets you parry an attack if you time it right, but it is really precise, and to parry you must be standing still. Now, you need to put a lot of thought into your methods in this game, or you'll be chopped into little pieces over and over again very quickly. I guess it's something that never really took off, or there will be a lot more games like this now. But if you enjoyed this type of combat as much as I do, every game and every fight gave you such a great sense of satisfaction. It was like you've really outsmarted your opponent and earned your kill. In Bushido Blade there are 3 main modes to play, and they're obviously all based around weaponized combat, but they're definitely different enough to earn respective playlists, so let me go through them. Now first of all you have your typical story mode. The story for every character is the same. You're escaping a dojo you don't want to be in anymore, and the rules are that if you want to leave, well, you can't. You leave on pain of death. So since you're deciding to leave, you will face pain of death. Now you get to choose what weapon you want to bring with you before you set off, and this can be a whole host of stabby weapons, and even a blunt sledgehammer if you're a heavy-handed brute. Now one thing that's very interesting here is that there's an unwritten code to follow, so to speak. It's the code of the Bushido. Well, it is written really, it's in the manual, but you don't follow the code in the game, and the game won't tell you if you've followed it until you progress far enough through the story. Basically, I think it's after your 5th or 6th opponent. If you have fought with honour, you progress to more opponents, and finally the ending FMV for your chosen fighter. If you've been dishonourable, like hitting your opponent when they're talking, running around too much, being a general coward, you end up with an abrupt ending screen which normally says in a sort of very long-winded fashion, "You've been naughty, do it again." Now normally, since I've been doing these sort of PlayStation game reviews, they're not even really reviews, I prefer to call them summaries, but ever since I've been doing them, I've been buying a lot of games off eBay really, and 9 times out of 10 they just come disc only in a little sleeve. But Bushido Blade was one of the few that came with the box, in one piece, and with the manual. Just because I have the manual, I'm going to read you the opening page, because this kind of sort of summarises the Bushido code. It says this: in Bushido Blade, players are penalised if they fight dishonourably, such as striking an opponent from behind, while climbing or running away. Fighting dishonourably would not allow you to see the secrets of the Kage unfold, which would not be in accordance with the honourable teachings of the Bushido. To those that follow the Bushido, dishonour is far worse than death. So there you go. A really awesome feature of the story mode in particular is, if you get hit and you die, you can of course continue and retry, but your character's appearance is normally a bit different. Whether it's a bandage on the knee or elbow, or even an eye patch, your character takes some kind of real-time damage as the story unfolds. This is a real nice touch, and I still despair at the amount of fighting games now that don't include something like this. It was done on the old dusty PlayStation, why on earth not now? I mean, there's only a few games I can think that do it. There's the Fight Night series, but I don't like boxing that much. There was Tao Feng on the Xbox, if any of you played that. Mixed responses on that, but nonetheless the real-time damage was awesome. I'm getting a bit off track here. Oh wait, and there's a guy with a gun in the story mode here. If you get that far, he's an arsehole. Now next we have Slash mode. I seem to remember this being called Versus 100 mode when I had it on the PlayStation when I was younger, but I could be wrong. In Slash mode, you have to beat 100 bad guys. Yep, that's right, you heard me right, 100. Now, for every 10 bad guys, if you die, you'll start from, let's say, the nearest 10 of the bad guys you've beaten. So, if you get killed by, say, bad guy 13, you will restart at number 10. I could have explained that a bit better, I guess. But anyway, the mode requires a lot of patience, and I'll go out on a whim and say a fair bit of skill as well. You need to know how to read your opponent's attacks and know when to strike and when to parry. If you haven't got a good grasp on these, you won't get to your 10th fight. Now, this is the only mode with music, which thankfully, even if it's a bit cliche, it's pretty catchy, and it's quite nice to have something in the background. One thing this part of the game makes glaringly obvious, sadly, is the game's biggest flaw, and I don't even really know what to call it. For lack of a better word, I'm going to call it tracking. Your opponents in this mode spawn one by one, and some of them spawn a bit further away, so they normally run at you, or run back and forth a bit before running at you. But you would be amazed how many times you'll miss your opponent if they're moving like this. This really shouldn't happen, and there's clearly some auto-aim in the game, or this would happen all the time, no matter what you're doing. It's pretty infuriating when you're almost going for that golden 10th guy in the sequence, and your stab misses the opponent through no fault of your own, which always happens to me. And normally when that happens, the enemy doesn't kill me. He'd rather take my legs out and let his next teammate do it. What a bastard. I am pretty patient with games, but when a game puts a price hideously out of reach, the fury and the frustration all really start to rise, and this game has one of those infamous prizes right here. Now, if you can beat Slash mode without dying even once, that's all 100, you unlock a guy called Cats, and he has a gun. You get to play with a gun. Now, to be honest, if you can beat 100 opponents, you don't even need a gun, but how cool is that? Now, when I was recording this for this game, I got to round 78 no deaths before getting done in by what I'm going to say was my little tracking issue. I may just be bitter about being close to the end, but at this point I think I died a little inside. I don't think I'll ever be able to play as the gunman, which kinda sucks unless I get an action replay cartridge or something. Now finally there's a POV mode, where you can play first person. If you ask me, it does feel a bit broken, and there's a very good reason why this isn't in many fighting games. Still, it's a change of pace if you needed one, and it's a good fun addition to a simple but rewarding fighting game. And after this, Bushido Blade 2 was released, which I haven't played yet, and on the PS2, the same manufacturers of this game, as I said, made Kengo Master of Bushido, which is pretty similar and even features a bleed-out system where you could cut your opponent, run away, and they'd actually die from blood loss. Sadly, after that, unless I'm being really unobservant, there isn't any more games like this, and I can't really think off the top of my head many more games where I've seen lightweight come up, so no more realistic sword games, and it's a real shame. It's not that current fighting games now are bad, but I really did enjoy this. It was different. Now, before I sign off, just a quick note. If you're watching this and you see Kengo for the Xbox 360 and think even for a second it's like this or Kengo 1, do not waste your time, please. It's horrible and it's a miserable excuse for a game. It's a disc that would better be used as a coffee coaster. I'd hate to be responsible for anyone buying it and anyone playing it. I would seriously lose sleep over it, so please, please, please stay away. Thanks for watching.